Hi, I'm Veronica. Nice to meet you. Before I tell you my story, kindly hit subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I like to know where you're from. Now let's dive in. I didn't find out from her. I found out from a Facebook post. There it was, plain as day. My sister Emily, beaming in a silky white gown at a bridal fitting. The caption from her best friend read, countdown to the big day. Emily gets married star. At first, I thought maybe it was just a staged photo shoot. Emily liked doing over-the-top things for Instagram. But when I saw the date mentioned 2 weeks from now, my stomach sank. I scrolled through the comments. All her friends gushing about the wedding venue, the color scheme, the bridesmaids' dresses. My name wasn't anywhere. Not in the bridesmaids list, not in the tag for family. I clicked through picture after picture, trying to piece it together. She had gone dress shopping months ago. I hadn't been invited. She'd done cake tasting with mom, hair trials with our cousin Leah, even a pre-wedding spa day with a handful of friends. I wasn't just excluded from the big day. I'd been cut out of everything. The kicker? 2 days later, an official printed invitation arrived in the mail for my parents' house. Not for me. I only knew because mom accidentally mentioned it while we were having coffee. She stopped herself halfway through the sentence, but the damage was done. I could have confronted Emily right there. I could have called her, demanded to know why. But instead, I stayed quiet, sipping my coffee, pretending like the words didn't land like a knife. See, this wasn't the first time she'd sidelined me. Emily had a way of making me feel small, like my existence was optional. I was the one who'd helped her get her first apartment, who stayed up all night to help her study for her nursing boards, who lent her money when she couldn't make rent. I'd been there for every crisis, every heartbreak, every I need you. But apparently, when it came to the happiest day of her life, she didn't need me. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at the ceiling. I kept replaying every moment I'd been there for her. I imagined her walking down the aisle without me in the crowd. I pictured my relatives whispering, "Where's her sister?" and Emily shrugging it off. And that's when the anger turned into something sharper. If she wanted to erase me from the picture, fine. I'd make myself unforgettable in a way she'd never see coming. The idea came like a spark. While they were gathered in that overpriced barn venue, pretending I didn't exist, I'd be somewhere else entirely. Somewhere better. Somewhere that screamed, "I'm living my best life without you." I opened my laptop and typed, "Luxury Caribbean resorts." I didn't just want nice, I wanted jaw-dropping. Infinity pools. Private beaches. Butler service. The kind of place you brag about. 2 hours later, I had it booked. 7 nights in the Bahamas, check in the morning of her wedding. I'd be sipping champagne in a cabana while she was cutting her cake. I imagined posting pictures in real time. Crystal blue water, fresh lobster dinners, my skin glowing in the sun. No captions about the wedding, no bitterness. Just pure luxury. The absence would speak louder than any confrontation ever could. Before bed, I set a reminder on my phone for the wedding day, post at noon. Noon was perfect, just about when they'd be exchanging vows. I smiled to myself as I closed my laptop. For once, I wasn't going to beg for a seat at the table. I was going to build my own damn table, and it was going to come with ocean views and unlimited cocktails. And if Emily or anyone else wanted to know why I wasn't there, well, they could figure that out for themselves. 2 weeks passed faster than I thought they would. Every time Emily posted another pre-wedding update, dress fittings, flower arrangements, rehearsal dinner snaps, it was like she was unknowingly giving me a countdown. And me? I was quietly building my own masterpiece. I bought new outfits for every single day of the trip, flowy dresses, oversized sun hats, gold sandals that caught the light just right. I even booked a professional photographer at the resort for one afternoon. If this was going to be my silent statement to my family, it had to be flawless. The morning before the wedding, my suitcase sat by the door, perfectly packed. My passport was in my bag, boarding pass loaded on my phone. I told no one in my family about the trip. Not mom. Not dad. Definitely not Emily. As far as they knew, I just vanished. When my Uber pulled up, the driver glanced at my suitcase and asked where I was headed. Bahamas, I said, and it felt like the first real breath I'd taken in weeks. At the airport, I ordered a mimosa before boarding. It wasn't even noon yet, but I was already toasting to my own freedom. The guilt that had threatened to creep in earlier that week was gone now, replaced by something warm and liberating. On the plane, I couldn't help but scroll through Emily's Instagram. She'd posted a story from the rehearsal dinner, everyone laughing, clinking glasses. My parents were in the background, looking happy. I zoomed in, searching their faces for even a flicker of my absence. Nothing. Fine, I thought. They'll notice soon enough. When the plane landed in Nassau, the humid air hit me like a warm embrace. Palm trees swayed in the distance, and the ocean stretched out in a glittering expanse. My driver held a sign with my name, Veronica, and whisked me away to the resort. The place was even more breathtaking than the pictures. An open-air lobby with polished marble floors, the scent of fresh orchids drifting in the air, and the faint sound of steel drums playing somewhere nearby. My suite overlooked the ocean, complete with a private infinity pool that seemed to blend into the sea. I dropped my bags, changed into a turquoise maxi dress, and walked straight to the beach. The sand was like powdered sugar under my feet. I ordered a frozen daiquiri and took a slow, deliberate sip while staring at the horizon. That evening, I posted my first picture, me, lounging on a white daybed, drink in hand, the ocean glowing gold behind me. The caption was simple, exactly where I'm supposed to be. Within an hour, the likes rolled in. Friends commented about how jealous they were, asking for details. My cousin Leah liked it but didn't say a word, probably wondering if Emily knew. The next morning was the day. Emily's wedding day. While she was probably getting her hair curled and her makeup done, I was in the spa, wrapped in a warm robe, getting a full body massage. At exactly 12 p.m., I posted the next shot, me in a swimsuit, floating in my infinity pool with a glass of champagne. The caption? Floating through life. It wasn't bitter. It wasn't petty, at least not on the surface. But I knew the timing was surgical. They'd see it. They'd know I wasn't just not there. I was somewhere better. By mid-afternoon, my phone buzzed. Mom, where are you? Then another text. Dad, we didn't see you this morning. Is everything okay? I put the phone face down and ordered room service. The real storm, I knew, hadn't even started yet. By the time the sun dipped toward the horizon, I'd already turned my phone to silent. It wasn't that I didn't see the notifications. I saw all of them. I just wasn't ready to answer. The first call came from Mom, then another from Dad, then one from an unknown number, probably a relative borrowing someone else's phone. I watched them stack up while I sat on my balcony, picking at a plate of fresh grilled snapper and roasted plantains. At first, I thought maybe they were just calling to guilt me for missing the wedding. But then the messages started to change. Mom, Veronica, please pick up. Something happened. Dad, it's important. We need you. Leah, I don't know if you've heard, but just call me. Please. I leaned back in my chair, letting the ocean breeze hit my face. My first instinct was curiosity, but the second was something darker, satisfaction. After weeks of feeling invisible, suddenly they were scrambling to reach me. I poured another glass of champagne and scrolled through Instagram. Emily's wedding hashtag Emily gets married had gone suspiciously quiet. Just a few photos from earlier in the day. Her in a lace gown, the bridesmaids in blush pink, my parents standing stiffly in a family group shot. Then a nothing. No reception photos. No first dance. No cake cutting. Just silence. Whatever had happened, it was big enough to stop the photo stream cold. I went down to the beach that night, the sand still warm from the day's sun. Couples strolled by hand in hand, laughter and music drifting from the resort bar. My phone buzzed again, this time a voicemail from Mom. I didn't listen to it right away. Instead, I stared out at the black horizon and asked myself a question. Was I going to pick up? Part of me wanted to. The curious, still slightly wounded part of me that needed to know exactly what had gone wrong. But the other part, the part that had booked this trip in the first place, wasn't so sure. This week was supposed to be about me, about not rushing back into the role of family fixer. I didn't come here to clean up their mess. Back in my suite, I finally pressed play on the voicemail. Mom's voice was shaky. Veronica, it's Emily. There was something at the ceremony. The message cut off, replaced by that robotic voice telling me my mailbox was full. If this was her attempt at baiting me into calling back, it was working. Just barely. I climbed into bed, the sheets cool and crisp. I told myself I'd sleep on it, maybe check in tomorrow. But deep down, I knew the old version of me, the one who always showed up no matter how she was treated, was clawing to come back. And I also knew this. If I gave in now, if I answered that call, all the power I'd reclaimed in the last 24 hours would slip right through my fingers. So I turned my phone off completely, set it on the nightstand, and let the sound of the waves drown out whatever chaos was unraveling back home. For the first time in years, I was choosing me. I didn't turn my phone back on until late the next morning. The sun was already high, pouring through the balcony doors, the ocean glittering like it was painted. I stretched, ordered room service, eggs Benedict, fresh mango juice, and decided today would be for snorkeling. When my phone powered up, it went wild. 23 missed calls. 15 voicemails. More texts than I could scroll through without my thumb cramping. The first one I opened was from Leah. Asterisk, you're not going to believe this. Emily lost it at the ceremony. Call me. Another from Dad. Asterisk, this isn't about the wedding anymore. We need to talk. And then, a picture from one of my cousins. It was a blurry shot taken inside the reception hall. Emily in her wedding gown, mascara streaked down her face, clutching a bouquet like it was a weapon. In the background, the groom was standing with his hands in the air, looking like he'd just been caught stealing something. I laughed out loud. Not because it was funny, okay, maybe a little, but because of the sheer irony. The woman who had so carefully curated the perfect wedding, who had spent months making sure I wasn't part of it, had managed to create a public spectacle that no amount of blush pink filters could hide. Still, my curiosity got the better of me. I texted Leah, I'm in the Bahamas. What happened? She replied almost instantly. You're not serious. You skipped the wedding for a vacation? Yep, I wrote back. Now spill. And she did. Apparently, 10 minutes before the ceremony, Emily found out that her fiancé, now presumably ex, had been texting one of her bridesmaids. Not just friendly texts either. The kind you'd never want to see on the morning you're supposed to say, I do. Emily confronted him in a side room. Things escalated. Voices carried. Guests heard everything. She still walked down the aisle, but by the time they reached the altar, she was trembling. Halfway through the vows, she stopped, turned to the crowd, and announced the wedding was off. Then she hurled the bouquet at the groom and stormed out. By the time they got to the reception hall, most guests were already leaving. Those who stayed witnessed a shouting match between Emily, the ex, and the bridesmaid, who'd made the poor choice of wearing her hair the same way Emily had planned for herself. I stared at Leah's messages, my fork suspended over my plate. So this was why my phone had been blowing up. This was why the hashtag went dark. My gut reaction was still the same. They wanted me to swoop in, to be the shoulder Emily cried on, the one who stayed up all night talking her down from the edge. But I wasn't there. I was thousands of miles away, my skin warm from the sun, my plate full of food I didn't have to cook, my day ahead of me with no demands except my own. For once, their chaos wasn't my responsibility. Leah texted again. She's asking about you. Says she needs her sister. I set my phone down, took a slow sip of mango juice, and looked out at the turquoise water. Part of me felt the pull, the old reflex to jump in and fix things. But another part of me, the part that had been invisible for so long, was basking in the realization that I didn't have to. If Emily really needed me, she should have thought about that before she cut me out. I typed my reply carefully, tell her I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Then I hit send, put my phone face down, and went to change for snorkeling. The waves were calling, and I wasn't going to miss them. Snorkeling was everything I'd hoped for. The water was so clear it felt like floating in a glass of turquoise, schools of fish darting around me in flashes of yellow and silver. For 2 hours, I forgot my phone even existed. When I finally came back to my suite, salt still drying on my skin, I saw it again. My phone lit up on the nightstand. More missed calls. More messages. Emily herself this time. I know you're mad. Please, Veronica. I can't do this alone. For a long time, I just stood there, staring at the screen. It was the first time in years she'd used my name without an edge of dismissal. She sounded small, almost like the Emily I used to know, the one who'd call me late at night after a bad date, or text me pictures of shoes she couldn't decide on. But the difference was back then I'd always answered. No matter what she'd said or done before, I showed up. And somewhere along the line, she'd learned that my presence was a given, that she could withhold invitations, ignore my feelings, and I'd still be there when things fell apart. Not this time. I walked out to the balcony, phone in hand, and watched the waves roll in. The sky was streaked with pink and gold, the sun sinking low. I thought about all the years I'd put their needs before mine, the birthdays I'd rearranged my plans for, the crises I'd dropped everything to handle. I thought about sitting at home while they celebrated without me, about Mom's slip over coffee, about scrolling through bridal shower photos I hadn't been invited to. And I thought about this trip. The freedom, the peace, the reminder that my life didn't have to revolve around anyone else's choices. I didn't owe them my presence just because they finally noticed my absence. I opened my camera and took a picture of the sunset, the horizon glowing, a single sailboat drifting in the distance. Then I posted it to Instagram with a caption. Some things are better left unspoken. No tags, no mentions. Just beauty, peace, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing the message would land exactly where it needed to. Then, without reading another text, I turned my phone off. Completely off. That night, I had dinner by the water, lobster tail, a glass of white wine, the sound of the waves as my soundtrack. I didn't check the time, didn't rush. For the first time in years, I felt like I was living for me, not for an audience, not for approval, and definitely not for scraps of someone else's affection. I didn't know if Emily's marriage was truly over, or if she'd find a way to spin it into another performance. But I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't stepping back into the role they'd assigned me. They had written me out of their story. So I wrote my own. And in mine, the ending was simple. Silence, sun, and the sound of the ocean. If you enjoyed my story, don't forget to like and hit subscribe. You will also enjoy other stories on AJ Family Drama. Until next time, bye.